I'm grateful to Professor Chura Lukar for the invitation. Let me start. My topic is Ukraine at war, geography, history, politics, economy. Uh, Geographically, Ukraine is situated in Eastern Europe. It sits within a large tectonic plate, and this means comparably stable climate. There are no major, almost never happen. Some of major natural disasters almost never happen, like hurricanes, no volcanic activity, no earthquakes. Flooding is rare and mostly happens in the. Uh, let me show it to you. Can you? How can I pick mouse? Yep. Can you see my? No. It's not like that. How can I make my mouse visible? Let me. This
We
is.
don't see it. Okay.
Yeah. Can you see my mouse moving on the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
So yeah. So these are the borders of Ukraine. Yeah. Uh, uh, Flooding is rare, and mostly it happens high in the mountains due to excessive logging and ensuing deforestation. The main art, of course, it's crucial that Ukraine has access to two seas, the Black Sea, and it's called the Sea of Azov, but mostly it's like a big lake, so it's just internal waters. Uh, the main source of we have our own Amazon, so to say, and this river is called the Dnipro River, and as well as this source of fresh water is as vital to Ukraine as Amazon to Peru and other neighboring countries of Latin America. It divides the country from north to east to south, and naturally, it was connected to like political entities, historical, because when Vikings in the Middle Ages used this river as a road to go southward to access the Eastern Roman Empire, uh, it gave that is how Kiev and other ancient cities were founded. Later, in the early modern times, which is the 16th and 17th century, this river was used as a road to drive off nomadic tribes which controlled this area, and as a result, these territories were became possible for open available for farming by Slavic people, which comprise since then the majority here. You can see mountains. They are not as high as Andes. There are no like permanent snowy like tops here. Uh, what is crucial that the main territory of Ukraine is plains or vast prairies, which are very good for farming, especially for farming grain. Because of that, Ukraine is called the breadbasket of Europe. You may have noticed the geopolitical importance of Ukrainian grain when at the start of the invasion uh, uh, in 2022, Russia blocked the main ports of Ukraine, which is Odessa, from exporting, from moving grain outside of Ukraine. And this immediately caused great international concerns, especially in Africa, because many political leaders of African countries were worried that lack of access to Ukrainian grain might threaten those countries with hunger and as a result of political instability. Happily, the deal was struck later, and with Turkey intervening, and the export of grain was unblocked. So these are the main geographical features. Politically, as you can see, our immediate neighbors could be divided in two parts. Like Ukraine is divided by its river in two parts. This one is east and south, and this one is like roughly called the west of Ukraine. So here, historically, like today's statehood of Ukraine originates from the 17th century when semi-nomadic peoples started like re-inhabiting these territories, because back then it was like considered a neutral territory, a no man's land between three entities. So to say, Poland. It wasn't called Poland, but like it was a huge federation of nations, of peoples under the Polish kings. Russia, which at the time was called Muscovy or Moscow Kingdom, and Ottoman Empire in the south. So with this like complex geopolitical balance, it is how modern Ukraine is forged. So this part, eastern part, is mostly influenced or being controlled by Russia, and this western part is mostly controlled by Poland or influenced by Poland. Nowadays, Ukraine is a neighbors with Moldova, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, Belarus, and Russia. Do you see a pattern here? Belarus and Russia are anti-Western in their political aspirations. But these guys, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, and Romania, are EU countries and NATO countries. So Ukraine is seen by both groups of countries as a desirable buffer zone between these, because it is pretty big in Ukraine in European terms. You see the range here, and Moldova is quite a tiny country comparing to Ukraine. Ukraine is territorially second largest country in Europe. Aspires to get to the club of European countries, meaning EU and NATO as well. So just recently, the negotiations of accession of Ukraine and Moldova into the EU has been like officially reopened. Okay, now we will hopefully we will be moving faster right now. Yeah, okay. The current territories of Ukraine were born or formed during this 20th century as a result of mostly of the two world wars. These territories were captured by the Soviet army from Poland, Romania, Czechoslovakia, and the like latest edition, which is right soon after the Second World War, Russian Crimea has been added to Ukraine. So you see this complex like puzzle, cultural, geopolitical, and so on. Okay. Now, why war? Ukraine, the most of Ukraine has been, the most of today's Ukraine has been part of the Russian Empire for centuries until the 1917th, when the Soviet Union was formed. So, as you can see, not only Ukraine was part of, so to say, Russia, but absolute majority of those countries, lesser countries, which were became republics within the Soviet Union, plus Finland. Nowadays, Putin, by many analysts, is seen as a revanchist, as a Russian nationalist, and is an imperialist who wants to like make Russia great again. And I want to show you some pattern. Finland fought with the Soviet Union and, surprise, surprise, won, having two wars being fought on its territory. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, three Baltic states, have been included into the Soviet Union after the Second World War. Now they are in NATO and in the EU. Belarus is totally aligned with Russia. Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia want to join the European club. And you know what? Moldova had a pro-Russian secession in the 1990s, even way before Putin became president of Russia. Georgia has been attacked by Russia in 2008. Russia occupied half of its territory, and as a result, two quasi-states were born, which are called Southern Ossetia and Abkhazia. In 2014, but you see, Moldova has this enclave, which is neither another country, not recognized by anyone except Russia. These two entities within former Georgia are recognized by Russia, but not internationally. But here's a pattern. In 2014, Russia annexed the southernmost part of Ukraine, which is Crimea. Later, it captured parts of its eastern territories. And soon, let me show it to you. And soon, Russia organized referenda on these territories and officially added these territories to basing on Russian legislation, I'm not sure about constitution, but maybe these territories are officially part of the Russian Federation. So I see, but I want to show you the pattern. So from supporting local secessions, local riots, pro-Russian riots, the tendency which I observe goes like to open revanchist and imperialist position of like bringing the lost territories back by military means. I see, maybe you will contest my view, but I see a difference between what you, as Latin Americans, have, the trouble that you have with the US, and we as Ukrainians having trouble with Russia. I know that the US considers most of the Americas as their zone of influence, sphere of influence, and allows itself to interfere in what many believe as internal affairs of these states. Still, Russia physically considers these territories as Russia, as itself. So in this revanchist imperial view, there should be no countries like this. And these are many. Okay, these are many. So that is why some people really are afraid that Russia might, especially Putin's Russia, might go to great length in actually trying to build their formal glory and establish itself as a global superpower. Okay, you see that what we have prior to this invasion. This is Crimea. This is what is called Donbas, mostly coal mining region, and of course it's about resources. Why is Crimea so important to Russia? Because it's the only deep water port which Russia has, which doesn't freeze throughout the year, because all the other ports which Russia owns are frozen in winter, which is definitely a huge disadvantage in terms of using the fleet. Here we see the scale of attack. Ukrainians were able to drive the Russian army off its north. And as you can see later, the Blitzkrieg war ended, and we now have what is more looks like more like a war of attrition, a war of terrorism, because both countries attack each other way beyond the front lines, trying to subvert and disrupt the chain of supply and prevent frontline to be supplied with arms and some other stuff from arms being produced. Why hasn't Ukraine collapsed in such a situation? There are many reasons, and I will say a few words about it. First is local resilience. Prior to the invasion, partly in concession to Russia's demands to rearrange itself from a unitary state to a federation, Ukraine adopted a mass decentralization reform, which meant that regions got the rights and means to budgets to solve many local issues locally without waiting for resources and sanctions from permissions from the center. It's like, okay, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe if something like a natural disaster happens in Peru, would the regions be looking for Lima to provide help? Here in Ukraine, it works differently. The regions have money and administrative powers to react very fast. Okay. The next thing is volunteer movement, which is really massive. Uh, Churches, NGOs, many local associations are hugely were and are hugely engaged in that, and because of that, they are formed of locals who are very sensitive toward the needs of local communities, and because of that, they are really effective. Uh, what really makes a difference is a far-reached digitalization of government services in Ukraine. Here you see the interface of the DIA app. DIA in Ukraine means action, and it's a unique app which every Ukrainian can download for free. First and foremost, it uh, automatically forms when you get registered in it. It forms like a range of your documents in digital form, which government officials are obliged to like use and accept alongside with paper originals. As you can understand, in the invasion, full-scale invasion, caused occupation, loss of territories, shelling of residential houses. Because of that, many documents are being lost, left behind, burned, and stuff. Because of this app, people were ready to at least have their passports and some other documents with them 24/7 because they are just in the cloud. And there are plus many government services through this app is like work really quickly, unbelievably quickly. For example, in the UK, where I am residing now, some things that might take here days, weeks, and even months could be made through this app in Ukraine in hours or even minutes with almost no cost. So you can imagine how effective it is. Economic resilience, regardless against all odds, Ukraine is eager to ensure that the state-controlled or government-controlled territories are available for farming. Despite the shelling and air raids, education continues. Of course, we have a huge outmigration, especially from the territories neighboring with the front line. First and foremost, it is young parents who make decisions to evacuate their children. But alongside this, there are many bunker schools are open, which went underground, and like literally, they're official, and but where children may be safe, they are able to they continue their education, and of course, most of higher education, especially in the eastern part of Ukraine, are held mostly online, which is not best, but still it goes on. And of course, there is a huge international aid from Ukraine's Western allies. Okay, so just some photos of how I personally felt this war. I'm a university professor, and I worked as a university professor in Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine, almost on the Russian border. We saw, despite that, this city was never encircled. never captured. We saw tanks attempting to capture the city. We saw street fights. But again, the city remained under Ukrainian control. On the sixth day of the invasion, my wife decided that she said, "But we must spare the life of our son. We need to get evacuated." I said, "Yeah, okay, I'm in." So we got on a evacuation train. It was really full. As you can see, there are international students in the background who try to get evacuated from Kharkiv as well, because it's called like a student capital in Ukraine. So it's tens of well-known universities are situated there. And later, my family crossed the border with Poland. Later, my wife and son went to the Netherlands and eventually to the UK. I stayed in Lviv, which is a city on the west of Ukraine, and which is shelled way less because of this strategic depth. Because Ukraine is quite a huge country. Later, got to know that our flat's windows were damaged by shrapnel, and yeah, there are some things that I witnessed myself. For example, when I was cycling in the Lviv suburbs, I witnessed a missile getting into a power station, and the fire that broke out. Okay, so a very short conclusion that I want to suggest is that during this invasion, full-scale invasion, by a way more powerful country, which has, by all means, which is superior, and at least it pretends to be, than Ukraine. It has 4 times more population. It has huge, deposits of hydrocarbons, which it trades and gets like huge bucks. Yeah, first and foremost, gas and less oil and coal. It has quite a sophisticated army and many other things. Despite this, it failed to capture Kyiv in 4 years. And I want to, of course, I know that you can say many things about Ukraine, and probably you will, and I'm open to this. You may say that, okay, it's a puppet of the West. Your president is a, Washington clown. Maybe Ukraine is just a rebellious Russian province that has to be, brutally pacified by its master, who is in a position to do what it pleases him. But I want to remind you one thing, that days before the invasion, it was our Ukraine's Western allies, media, were really agreed with Russia in predicting that Kyiv will be captured in days. It never happened up until now. Ukraine somehow managed to surprise the world and even itself. I want to leave you with something to read, to watch. These are the links you can use. Thank you for having me, and I'm very much open to your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maxim. Maria, can you please help us with questions?
Yes.
I'm not sure that your
Your
mic
mic
is
is,
on.
your mic is off.
Uh-huh. There is a question by Giovanni. Can I
Yes.
start with it?
Sure. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Okay. Um, my question is, how has Ukraine managed to sustain its agricultural export, like grain and sunflower oil, despite the Black Sea blockade? And what alternative export corridors have become key to keeping this trade alive? Thank you so much, Giovanni. I really appreciate your question. This really shows your expert knowledge in this topic. That's really impressive because Professor Chura Lukar said that you are bachelor students. And for a bachelor students, that's a really profound and good question. Thank you so much. Yes, for some time, this blockade was really in place, and Ukraine struggled to have its grain exported. I already mentioned this concern and fear about, first and foremost, the leaders of African countries. Later, Turkey mediated the deal that led or had, I don't know how to say it, is a in fact, later Russia agreed to unblock their support. Before that, and alongside that, the of course the first and foremost land routes were used. So the grain was loaded onto trucks, which were moved through the EU countries, mostly Poland, Slovakia, Hungary. Thank you. Okay, Maria Quispe. Hi, my question is, how has your personal professional perspective changed since the beginning of the war, and what motivated you to share your experience with students from other countries? Thanks so much. Thank you, Maria. That's an amazing. How has my personal professional perspective changed since the beginning of the war? I'd say that the decisive factor of such change, or at least a correction, was my 2-year scholarship at the University of Sheffield, which allowed me to really dig deeper than just browsing media publications. So it let me read a lot of academic expert thoughts, many books, first and foremost. And as a result, I really saw this conflict and war in a more sophisticated, multidimensional way. I clearly saw the like that there are really vital interests are clashing here. Russia defends itself. Russia is desperate because it feels like I'm not talking about who is right here. I'm just explaining the way of thinking that which I believe are in place there. Okay, Russia sees itself being encircled by what the Russian government projects this view that the West is an enemy. Clearly, Putin started make this view official from his famous Munich speech in 2007. And as a, but within that thinking, Russia, the desirable place where Putin would like to see Russia is the end of the Second World War, when it is the Crimea Conference, and Potsdam Conference, where when Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt sat together to officially divide Europe. As a result, the Soviet Union was recognized as a superpower, the head of the socialist bloc, controlling or at least having allies throughout most of Central and Eastern Europe. Nowadays, this is gone. All of former socialist, absolute majority of former socialist countries are within the EU and NATO club. The trouble is that starting with being way more pro-NATO than Ukraine back then in the 1999 when Putin became president, Putin underwent a very complex transformation to becoming really anti-Western, being really aggressive in his rhetoric and actions. And he, what I clearly see, that his invasion of Ukraine is part of his geopolitical program to turn at least the countries who are not in the EU and NATO bloc, to prevent them by all means from doing so, to recruiting it into a loyal neighbor like Belarus, or brutally pacify it, like what he is trying to do with Ukraine. That's what I see. So it is about Russia. In terms of Ukraine, I clearly see that Ukraine is no angel. Ukraine especially as its successive governments, really made many mistakes as well. By alienating its own citizens, yes, it really had trouble with creating a national state, having the biggest Russian diaspora in the world, which in the dawn of its independence in 1991 comprised 17% of its population. It's a huge number. Okay, it's a huge number. Plus, those people were mostly situated in the lands physically neighboring with Russia. Many things could have been done better, especially in terms of language, in terms of status and rights of this Russian diaspora. But so at least what I do believe, and I'm really trying to influence the situation by the means I have, is that I believe Ukraine must stop fighting with itself, stop alienating its citizens on judging on the language they speak, on the views they have, on religion, on whatever. Everyone who has Ukrainian passport and is willing to be a citizen of Ukraine must be at least left alone, and their rights must be secured. That's what it's some roughly thoughts. Thank you, Maria.
Maxime, before we continue, I have some requests for questions. If we can go through them, I will try to go as fast as we can, because
just one minute per question. Thank you so much. Two year, Venezuela Maria. That's what sorry for my pronunciation. Looking at image 10, the classes held in bunkers caught my attention. What do you think has helped the most to keep education going? Many things. Willingness of parents to stay, the demand to local administrations to somehow deal with this. So yeah, these are mostly the things that administrations really. You see, Ukrainians are inventive, flexible, innovative, resourceful. Because of that, yeah, many things are done differently. We like improvise. It's not that we are always successful in that, but we try. Okay, I'm ready for moving on.
Yes, let's go with Shirley. She raised her hand.
Yeah. Okay, Shirley, please.
Shirley.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Maksym. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for the presentation. And I would like to ask, do you believe that technology such as the DIA app could become a model for other countries facing crises or emergencies in the future?
Thank you so much. I would jokingly start with flatter and accepted. Yeah, of course it's a joke. Okay, it's a joke. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like something about Ukraine. No worries if other countries believe that they have anything to learn from Ukraine. You're welcome. So nothing prevents anyone to download this app and see how it's made. So I clearly believe that digitalization, if done wisely, really helps. Because really, like there is nothing wrong, good and bad in, for example, like original documents in paper. So ideally, citizens, I believe, should be given a equal choice. So the ones who clearly prefer hard copies, welcome, you go with that. Younger generation, mobile people, migrants and stuff can use these things because, again, as I said, this was vital for those who really like, for example, would some people got evacuated always half naked with nothing on them. You see, especially during these first hysterical like days. So they really didn't know where their documents are. And by having these copies plus, it's not just some amateur scans. These were recognized officially by the government, which was crucial for them. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that information. I didn't know about this app, but I think it's very interesting.
Well, welcome. You're welcome, Shirley. Okay.
Thank you, Shirley. Hakemi.
Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon. The concept of broken schools is deeply moving beyond keeping the educational system alive. What are the long-term psychological and social impacts of on the generation of children, and how are education adapting their teaching methods to handle both academic learning and collective trauma? This is my question.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a very interesting question. I'd say that definitely online education, and especially these bunker schools, and also must be seen only as a forced involuntary like adaptation. These are not norms. Okay, there is nothing better than speaking face to face, and especially when these are younger children. It's vital for them to read the body language, to interact with each other, because this school is vital for socialization of children. Okay, that is why I really believe that we will have this, these online generation of these alumni. It's a traumatized education. Okay, it should be somehow mended and fixed in the future. We just can't leave it like that. Okay, because the people really like lack experience many deficits, social, psychological, and stuff. Teaching methods, like here, you see, it's a very like poor and how to say, it's a it's an education which lacks in many things, with many deficits. Okay, I believe it's like a, you know, it's an education full of gaps. Okay, full of gaps. It's really too theoretical, involuntarily. Okay, and first and foremost, it's bad in terms of mental health, in terms of socialization. Okay, collective trauma. Yeah, we have to somehow deal with this. So yeah, thank you for spotting this. Yeah.
Thank you so much for answering my
There is nothing to celebrate about it, you know. So it's bad. We need to deal with this problem. It's a problem. It's not a. There is nothing innovative in it. You know, it's like a collective disability. Like for example, like a person who is involuntarily like unable to move and has to stay at home while studying in school. Okay, Damaris.
Thank you. Let's go with Nashili or
Nashili, yeah.
Nashili. She's first on the list.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for interesting presentation. Okay, my question is, do you think digital government platforms like DIA could become a global model for improving public service and crisis management?
Can you see? Fingers crossed. Don't know. Because prior to that, we clearly saw that there was a need and huge. You see, there was a long road of successive governments, of NGOs, good investigative journalism showing corruption and abuses of power of officials who really used their exclusive access to some things as a means to abuse their power. For example, taking bribes for giving you certain certificates and stuff. Right now, nowadays, some of these things are just in cloud, and you just use AI to use them. You see, there is like a direct thing. It really allowed to significantly lessen the corruption, state corruption in these areas. Okay, would all governments in the world be willing to get poorer and weaker by introducing this? I strongly doubt it. So this is a long way forward. Okay, for civil, for educated public, for civil service, and for media, among other things. Maybe also some international pressure as well. That is one of the reasons why many Ukrainians really want to be accepted into the EU structures, because they want to use it as a leverage of external control over abuses of Ukrainian officials. We are a corrupt country, as everywhere in the world. It only depends on the checks and balances. Well, that's the difference. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we finish with Damaris. That will be the last question for today.
Amazing.
Yes, thank you. Hello, Mr. And my question is, from your perspective, what is the most important lesson the world can learn from Ukraine's resilience?
Professor Chura-Lukar, may you repeat the question for me?
I understood that what would be the main lesson that the world can learn from Ukrainians' resilience? That would make it.
I would formulate it like that. It always makes sense to put all your effort for the cause you believe which is right. Okay. So it pursue what is right. Pursue what you really if there is something in the world you believe worth sacrificing for, then pursue it with all your might.